So I really like coffee shops. I particularly like this coffee shop. There's about 4 or 5 coffee shops in the Oswego area, and I like the space here. The music isn't too loud. I like the atmosphere, and I love the coffee subscription. For the cost of 4 cups of coffee, I get about 30 in a month, and I take advantage of that. I've chosen this place, and there's reasons that I have. It's like people searching for a job. They make choices about quality of the employer, the mission. Is the work interesting? Does it fit? What's the culture like? And if they like it, that's a benefit. And of course, dollars and benefits are a factor. My name is Scott Sherrick. I'm with HR Boost. I've been with HR Boost for about 2 months, and I've been in human resources about 25 years. This video is being specifically recorded for Stepping Stones Nursery, soon to be Stepping Stones University. Shout out to Teresa, Nina, Sarah, Erica, Lucy, and Victoria. I'm going to talk today about some things that I've learned about interviewing strategies that can make a difference. So here we go. There's 3 main impacts that hiring has on an organization. One is an impact on mission. Things like, will the person that you bring in support the mission? Will their purpose for work align with the mission? Will they add to the effectiveness of the mission? Second is culture. Do they share your work values? Will they strengthen your work values? Will they detract or hinder your work values? It's not really a laughing matter. And then budget. Most people don't think about this, but when you offer hire, you're increasing the annual cost and operating budget of the organization. And it's an ongoing cost. It's not like the purchase of equipment or the cost of some, huge building or something. And thus, it's important. It's important to think about what you're doing as a hiring person. So those are 3 impacts. So why is this session important? I love this ancient Hebrew quote. The thoughts of a person's heart are like deep waters, but a person of understanding is able to draw them out. The thoughts of a person's heart are like deep waters, but a person of understanding is able to draw them out. The human heart is like a deep well. If you look over into a well, you may see how far down the water is. You may see light dancing on the surface. But here's what you don't know. You don't know what the quality of the water's like, and you don't know how deep it is. This is where interviewing comes in. There's 3 categories of questions. Questions are like the buckets that you put down into the water to draw out and test the quality. The first category is big picture questions. Why this job? How does this job fit into your goals? The second is clarifying questions about their resume. So what is your college degree concentration? Why is there a gap between these 2 jobs? And then there's flags that might pop up. The final category of questions that we're going to do a little deeper dive on are behavioral-based questions, really important. So let's take a deeper dive. Behavioral-based questions are based on this idea: past performance is the best indicator of future performance. Let's think about that. Past performance is the best indicator of future performance. What this means is you're going to be looking to see what a person has done in order to predict what they will do. You want to see what they've done in order to predict what they will do in your work environment. I like this acrostic STAR. It's helpful in developing behavioral questions. A behavioral question is a specific question. Give me a specific situation. It asks about a specific task or steps that occurred in a specific situation. You might ask for some detail on actions and steps, and then you'll ask for oops, sorry, you'll ask for the results of the specific actions that were taken. So let's talk about an example. I'm going to contrast behavioral and hypothetical questions. The first is a behavioral question. Give me a specific example of a time when you faced an employee not completing their most important responsibilities despite your prior requests. Tell me what happened, what you said, and how it turned out. So that's the specifics. And so they're going to tell you a little short story out of their experience. It's open-ended, so they can pick any specific example, but it has to meet the criteria of your question. Now, they're going to tell you a little story, and in that story, what you're going to hear is how the person thinks, how they view people, and what they value. They may share how they feel and how they acted. Compare and contrast that to the hypothetical question. How do you handle employees who aren't getting their most important tasks completed? This kind of a question, what you're going to see is how they think, what they've read, what they've learned, and how well they can talk about theory, okay? Right? So what you don't learn is what they've done or what they can do. Go on to the next question. Give me a specific example of a time when a child was very angry with another child and started yelling at them. Tell me what happened, how you handled it, how it turned out. Okay, again, very specific. You're going to hear how they think, how they value the child, both children actually, the course of action that they thought was best, and how they ended up acting and how it turned out. The hypothetical question could be, how do you handle angry, yelling children? Again, person's going to tell you what they think, their theory, and it may have nothing to do with what they've done. I got to share this brief example. We did a pastoral search for a pastor, and this was years ago. And we asked him the question about his ability to train and to mentor other people. And he waxed very eloquently from the scripture on how that should take place. We failed to ask him for specific examples. Within 2 weeks on the job, we invited him to a small, very active Bible study of men who've been working together for about, studying together for about 2 years. And those focused studies were very action oriented. We were looking for things that we could do to improve our own character and the quality of our relationships. We sat through that meeting for about an hour afterwards. Pastor Bob said, "Wow, I've never experienced that before." My jaw almost dropped open because over the months following, we learned he did not have experience in working with people and developing them. But boy, did he give a good answer on a hypothetical answer and how that should take place. So there's 3 ways to prepare for an interview. 3 ways to prepare for an interview. First, you need to review the job description to develop behavioral-based questions based on STAR. The job description is essential. If you stick to the job description in all of your questions, generally speaking, you're going to avoid all sorts of concerns, discrimination, and saying things, asking questions that are irrelevant to the job. Second is decide on big picture questions that you want to ask. And third is to review the application and resume and decide clarifying questions based on those two documents. So let's talk about these a little bit more in depth. 3 ways to prepare for the interview. Pardon me. Review the job description to develop behavioral-based questions. I've already kind of gone through this a little bit, but it's really important as you think about these to look at the job responsibilities that you're most interested in and then decide, okay, what's a specific example that you're looking for under the job responsibilities. So you may pick 2 or 3 key job responsibilities and say, okay, I want to get some specific examples of things you've done in these areas in order to predict what you will do in the future. So that's important. Sit with the job description and develop some behavioral-based questions. I'm going to be providing at the end of this training a whole list of behavioral-based questions for both teachers and teaching assistants, which I hope will be helpful to you. In the interview, if you're not hearing short stories, there's something wrong. Either you're not asking the question right, or you did ask the question, but they didn't hear it quite right. So it's important to redirect to, I need a specific example of something you've done. All righty. Next is to prepare big picture questions. I've already kind of gone over this. Why this job? Why this profession? You know, you're trying to get at the motivation of why they're coming to the table. What strengths do they have for this kind of a work might be a good question. How does this job fit into 3 to 5 year goals, etc. So these are some questions that you would need to feel that are relevant to these positions that you're interviewing for. And then third, decide on clarifying questions. I've already mentioned clarifying questions allow you to do a deeper dive on their experience, and they're factual generally, factual questions. College degree concentration. Person might put they started a job in 2021, they ended it in 2022. So you might ask for the start and end dates, the actual dates, the months, because what they've written might appear that they have 2 years of experience, but they could have worked from December of 21 to February of 22. So that'd be a good clarifying question. Gaps between jobs is always a good question. If you see any gaps, to ask about those. And then people who jump from one job to another, they only seem to be able to hold a job down for a year. It's kind of dig into that. Where's that going? Why is that happening? It's really important that if you have any flags on the resume that you address those, you question those. I've heard many people say, over the years, I saw that flag in the interview and I should have asked about it and I regret it now. I've never heard a person say, I regret asking about that flag that I saw. No regrets there. So I'm going to be providing you this interview checklist, which also is going to serve as an agenda for you to use in the interview. So let's talk a little bit about this interview checklist. You'll start with rapport building questions. And these are casual, friendly questions about their day and their travel, etc. What you want to stay away from in your friendliness, trying to make a connection, you don't want to stay away from asking questions about their accent, maybe some ethnic jewelry or clothing. If you notice they might have a different ethnic origin than yours, avoid those questions. And if there's a question about if they have a disability, don't go there. But what you need to do is if they ask about accommodations for disability, the answer is we make reasonable accommodations. And you can speak out, and you can speak to our HR department if you have any questions about how your disability might be accommodated in this particular role. So, okay, I went from rapport building questions to accommodations. I'm going to jump into now. Take notes and explain why. Some people might feel uncomfortable with that, so just make a note about being able to make a good decision in your interview process, etc. Um, Give a brief review of the job and the company, and then ask questions. Ask if they have any questions about the job. This, shows your interest in them and your openness. It tells a little bit about the culture of Stepping Stones. And then, of course, you're going to plug in big picture questions you've designed, clarifying questions, behavioral based questions. Sorry if it's getting a little noisy. Um, if I'm speaking too quickly, of course, you can turn the speed down on this on this video. The next is to remember to maintain control, to redirect rabbit trails and answers that might be too long. In this case, you might say something like, I think I understand your question. Can we go on to the next question? Or allow me to move on to the next question. Thanks for your answer. Next is to look for contrary evidence. If a person says they ignored a procedure and they found a better way to do something, for example, that might hit you the wrong way. So intentionally ask if the person did anything opposite of that and they followed a procedure that maybe other people weren't following, and why. This will give you a balance on their response. And then the next step questions, what's your salary range, your hourly wage you're looking for, and when would you be able to start? The final thing I want to strongly encourage you to do as you go through this process with people, the reality is as you apply some of the things you're learning in this workshop, you're going to grow. And so I'm going to encourage you, one of the steps in growth is review. So I'd encourage you to review the list and ask yourself, how did I do on these different areas and what can I improve for the future? I'm going to make 5 resources available to you. One is the interview checklist that I've just talked about and using it as an agenda, sample behavioral questions for teachers and for teachers' assistant. This recording, of course, and this PowerPoint will all be available to you. I love this quote. It's an ancient Hebrew quote. A wise person teaches their mouth and adds learning to their lips. A wise person teaches their mouth and adds learning to their lips. And this is what you're going to be doing as you walk through this process. You're going to be learning. So I want to stop the video just for a second. The PowerPoint just for a second to share something with you. I'm part of the deaf community, and there's 2 signs in sign language that I find very valuable. The first sign is improve. Improve. I love that sign. Improve is not this. Improve is this. Implication, small steps daily. You learn a little, you do a little. You learn a little, you do a little, and you improve. The second sign is practice. This is the sign for practice. This sign represents to me taking a piece of wood. I work with wood a lot. I enjoy it as a habit of mine, but taking a piece of wood and taking some sandpaper and sanding it. So there's rough edges on the end. It's cut the way I want it, but I need to sand the rough edges off. And soon it'll be super soft, super smooth, and just what I want it to be. But until then, I'm practicing. I'm sanding. As you practice what you learn, your skills will grow. You will grow. Your value to others will grow. Practice what you've learned today. Commit to learn a little, do a little. Learn a little, do a little. This is the trajectory for you. Teresa, Nina, Sarah, Erica, Lucy, Victoria, thanks for your patience. Thanks for listening. I hope this is helpful. I'll be posting those documents in a place where you can access them. I hope this is helpful. Take care.